What would you say in a talk, or you do radio, you do TV, you're omnipresent, or what would you say to a client who's going, yeah, Paul, I've heard all this fasting stuff, buddy, but why should I really do it? What are the benefits?
There are different benefits for different types of fasting. So I think what we have two broad categories for me. So one is short-term fasting in its various forms, and the other is long-term fasting. So when I say long-term fasting, I mean 3-4+ days of just water fast. And actually, it's really interesting as to where this stuff arose. So a lot of it came out of research around calorie restriction. So the likes of Mark Mattson and others had studied lots of different species, from worms and flies, and then mice, other rodents, and shown that if you calorie restrict any of these species significantly, so reduce their calories over and above what they need for normal maintenance by 20 to 30%, generally about 30%, but still give them a nutrient-dense diet so as that they're not depleted, they live longer, sometimes 50 to 100% longer. And then fasting sort of leveraged off that, right? So the benefits around fasting are really metabolic benefits, and it's about disease protection. And we mentioned earlier on that, you know, high carbohydrate diet, whether it's the gels and all of that, or whether it's just having your 3 meals a day plus maybe some snacks, is what happens with your metabolism when you're in this constantly fed state, right, where the body is getting plenty of nutrients, is that they are triggers for growth, right? So tissue growth, all of that, but also cancer cells, right? So IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, which is triggered whenever you are eating food, that will obviously trigger growth hormone and other sorts of hormones associated with growth. But cancer cells absolutely love being in a fed state. They love IGF-1, right? It was looking at this calorie restriction research and the geeky molecular stuff that was really uncovered, that actually when you fast, there are a number of longevity pathways that are activated. So things like sirtuins, that's a kind of a pathway that's very geeky.
We like to go geeky, especially when we have a cool geeky guy here. So go as deep as you want.
That's right. Well, look, sirtuins basically activate longevity pathways, right? The other thing that happens when you are fasted, whether you're calorie restricted or short-term fasting, is mTOR is reduced, right? That's these things they have abbreviations for a very good reason. mTOR stands for mammalian target of rapamycin, right? And it's basically a growth trigger. And so the research showed that actually suppressing mTOR and activates stuff like AMP kinase, activates sirtuin pathways, which have all of these cellular benefits that you can see play out in animal models with increased longevity, enhanced tissue health into later age, multi-system organ preservation, right? So it appeared, piggybacking off the calorie restriction research, that we could potentially activate these pathways in a shorter term fasting. Now, why would we want to do that? Well, the calorie restriction research showed, and people were getting very, very excited about this and thinking all of us humans have to restrict our calories by 30%. Unfortunately, the primate models of calorie restriction, long-term calorie restriction, are not showing enhanced longevity. And there are small studies on humans who've been undergoing this long-term calorie restriction. And it would appear that in them that there are certain biomarkers that would indicate that perhaps their longevity pathways are being activated. However, what we also know is they're depressed, they're lethargic, and they have no sex drive, right? So if you want to live that life, then crack on. Because you'll live longer, maybe, but it'll be pretty friggin' miserable, and we don't even know if there's a longevity benefit.